Naomi lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She could not sleep. Every small noise outside made her heart beat fast. Every shadow on the wall made her scared. She kept thinking about what she heard her father say to Baba Io. Their words were stuck in her head. She felt trapped. Her home did not feel safe anymore. She had to leave. But how? She turned to look at the small wooden door of her room. Outside that door was a big world she had never explored. A world where she might be free. Her hands shook as she reached under her mattress. She pulled out Ada's letter. The paper was wrinkled because she had read it so many times. But the words were still clear. We need to find a way to fight back. We have to be strong together. Naomi knew she could not stay. Her father was getting worse. Now that she knew what he wanted, she was afraid. If she waited, she might never get another chance. She made up her mind. Tonight, she would leave. She sat up quietly and placed her feet on the floor. The wood made a small creak. She held her breath and listened. Silence. She grabbed a small cloth bag and put in a few things, a change of clothes, a small bottle of water, and some groundnuts. It was not much, but it was all she had. She walked to the door. Just as she reached for it, she froze. Footsteps. Heavy, slow footsteps. Baba Femi. His shadow moved past her window. He was talking to himself. Naomi's hands shook. If he caught her now, she would never escape. She stood still, barely breathing. Minutes passed. Then, she heard a door close. She let out a soft breath. This was her only chance. She moved quickly but quietly. She did not go through the front door, it was too risky. Instead, she went to the kitchen. There was an old wooden window at the back of the house. The latch was stuck, but she pushed hard until it opened. She climbed through and landed softly on the wet ground. She was free. For now. Naomi did not stop to think. She ran. She ran past the storage hut. Past the dying fires in the village. Past the houses where people were sleeping, not knowing the danger that lived among them. She had to reach Ada. Ada would help her. The night was dark. The ground was rough. Every rustling leaf made her heart jump. But she did not stop. Then she saw it. Ada's house. She was almost there. She reached the doorstep. She was about to knock when a strong hand grabbed her wrist. She gasped. She turned, and her eyes widened in fear. Baba Femi stood before her. The moonlight made his face hard to see, but she knew. He had found her. And this time, there was no escape. Naomi's loud cries filled the night. She kicked and struggled as Baba Femi held her tight. Tears ran down her face as she shouted, telling everyone the truth. He sleeps with me. My own father, she screamed. Every time I start my flow, he comes to me at night. He does bad things to me. The villagers came running. Some had been sleeping, but Naomi's cries woke them up. Mothers, fathers, children, everyone rushed out to see what was happening. When they heard Naomi's words, they stopped. The whole place became quiet. Only Naomi's sobs could be heard. Then came gasps. People looked at Baba Femi with wide eyes. Women covered their mouths in shock. Men clenched their fists in anger. Mama Femi pushed through the crowd, breathing fast. She looked at Naomi with fear in her eyes. Naomi, what did you just say? Her hands were shaking. Baba Femi laughed nervously. Ah, Mama Femi, don't listen to her. She is just a child. She doesn't know what she's saying. His voice was calm, but his eyes darted left and right, looking for a way to escape. Mama Femi didn't believe him. She grabbed Naomi and pulled her close. Naomi held on to her mother, crying hard. Oh, my daughter, Mama Femi whispered. Tell me everything. Naomi looked into her mother's eyes. For years, she had kept quiet. But now, she let it all out. She told everyone about the first time it happened. How Baba Femi told her it was their little secret. How she tried to resist but was too weak. How she was scared every time. How she cried alone at night, wishing someone would save her. The villagers listened, their faces dark with anger. Some women wiped their eyes. Some men shook their heads, fists tight. Barber Femi stepped back, sweat covering his face. He knew they would not forgive him. He turned and ran towards the backyard, hoping to escape. He jumped. But 3 strong young men caught him. They dragged him back, holding him down. "You will not run from this, Barber Femi," one of them said. Just then, the village chief arrived with the elders. "Bring him," the chief said. His voice was firm. The people pulled Barber Femi to his knees. "Judgment will be given," the chief said. Barber Femi's body shook. His mouth opened and closed. Then, suddenly, he shouted, "It was Barber Ayo. Barber Ayo led me into this." The crowd gasped again. Some turned to look at Barber Ayo, who was standing at the back, his face pale. Barber Ayo tried to run, but the villagers grabbed him too. He struggled, but the young men held him tight. "Tell us everything," the chief ordered. Both kneeling before the chief council and villagers gathered around. Barber Femi, now crying, nodded quickly. "It was Barber Ayo," he said. "He told me to do it. He said if I slept with Naomi every time she had her flow, I would become young and powerful. I didn't want to, but he convinced me." Barber Ayo cut in immediately. "Chief, it's a lie. Barber Femi approached me first and asked how I became young this past years. I never forced him, he willingly did." Both went into argument but was called to order. The villagers murmured angrily. "That's not all." Barber Femi continued. "He took me to the chief priest. The priest gave me a charm. He said it would make Naomi obey me and never tell anyone." People turned to look at the chief priest, who was standing among them. His face turned red. He took a step back, but it was too late. The young men caught him too. "So you all planned this evil together?" the chief asked, his face hard with anger. The 3 men bowed their heads. They had been caught. The chief turned to the villagers. "These men have done great evil," he said. "They must face the law." The people shouted in agreement. They wanted justice for Naomi. The village elders met quickly and made a decision. Barber Femi, Barber Ayo, and the chief priest were sentenced to 5 years in prison. After that, they would be banished from the village forever. As the guards took them away, Barber Femi screamed, "Please forgive me, I was tricked." But no one listened. Naomi watched her father disappear into the night. She felt strange. She wasn't happy, but she wasn't sad either. She just felt free. Mama Femi hugged her tightly. "You are safe now," she whispered. "No one will ever hurt you again." A few days later, Naomi sat by the river with Ada. The water sparkled under the sun. Birds chirped in the trees. Naomi smiled, a real, happy smile. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. She was free. Moral lesson: mothers, please build a close and trusting relationship with your daughters so that they feel safe to speak about anything troubling them. When a mother listens and pays attention to her child, she can protect her from harm. No child should suffer in silence. Every daughter needs a mother who believes in her, supports her, and stands up for her.